Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome on back to the Talk Anime Podcast.
I'm Jared.
I'm Justin.
And today we're going to be doing our top animes for brand new people to the genre.
Yeah, so basically animes that we think you should start watching that will get you into anime. These aren't necessarily like our absolute favorites. They're just anime that Jared and I, whenever we were younger, would watch, and it kind of opened up our interest in the genre that is anime.
And not necessarily even like completely younger with some of these shows. It's just like a good starting base.
Yeah.
If you're looking to recommend a show to somebody and you don't know what to recommend them.
Yeah. I agree. No, these are always a solidly good show throughout, I would say, for the most part.
Exactly, and these really aren't in any particular order either.
No.
It's just like 10 shows that we would recommend that you can suggest to a friend for the first time of them watching a show.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get right into this. What you got first, Justin?
Oh, you want me to start? Okay. Well, let's start with everybody's favorite fuck-mothering vampire, Alucard in Hellsing Ultimate. This is a great show. It's only like 10 episodes. So the premise is that you have the Hellsing Corporation, which is basically, all of this takes place in the UK, London specifically. And so the Hellsing organization is basically a group of individuals that throughout time have fought monsters. And so, and their trump card is Alucard, or Dracula, basically. He's basically this super-powered vampire that has absorbed, countless souls over a millennia. And he's their trump card, so whenever, they encounter a situation that calls for it, he comes in and he cleans up, basically. In the most badass way possible. It's a great show. It's funny. There's a lot of funny moments in it. There's a lot of great, action moments in it. The story is really good. The ending is fantastic. It makes you wanting more, even though it's only a 10-episode saga, basically.
It's really short and to the point, but it is excellent.
Yes.
Now, this is a very violent and gory show.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, so, if you're trying to, recommend it to, children under, 16, I would say pick something else from the list that we've got on here. This is definitely more for adults. And older teens, I would say.
Right. I mean, who you would recommend a show like this to if you've seen it.
Yeah.
Anybody who really doesn't want maybe a cutesy side of anime or something like that.
It's much darker, I will say that. It's funny, but it is a lot darker in terms of the content that is involved. It is definitely not for young children at all. It is very, very, very crude, but very good. So yeah, I think that's my number one recommended for people that are of age, I would say.
For of age, yeah. And the fun thing about Hellsing Ultimate is once you've watched it, then you can go back and watch the abridged series of it, which is hilarious.
It's done by Team 4-Star. It's really good. But again, it's just, you really need to just be careful about who you recommend this show. It's very, they need to be of age. It's very violent. There's a lot of blood and gore and a lot of suggestive content.
And that one was Hellsing Abridged Ultimate.
No, it's just Hellsing Ultimate.
Oh. I had the abridged show stuck in my head already because it's so good. That's my favorite thing about it.
It's really good. No, I love the show too.
That Hellsing Abridged.
Damn it, I can't talk. Hellsing Abridged made me watch the show, but I loved watching the show. It's really good. Hellsing Ultimate. Go watch it if you're of age. if you're, below age, don't watch this show yet, kids. Sorry. And also, I'm sorry, I swore.
The first one on my list. So, this is a show that I've actually personally never seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I know so many people that they were like, I'm always like, hey, what was the first show that got you into anime? With a lot of female friends. And that's Sailor Moon.
Yeah, Sailor Moon. Yeah.
Like,
my fiance in particular was like, why isn't this on your list at first? And I was like, yeah, probably a good point.
Yeah, like our friend Wendy, that was like her jam.
Yep.
Still is,
yeah.
And then I've been to like a ton of anime conventions and stuff over the years. And this is always like a very popular show. And it's always one where people got into it at a young age. I think what helped with that is it aired on Cartoon Network on Toonami.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So it was a great gateway show.
Yeah. It's
to get a lot of people into anime.
Yep.
And you'll probably see at least another one or two shows from like that Toonami block that are really
lot of
great
these shows,
to get into anime.
Yeah, we're back on like the 90s, like Toonami, early 2000s kind of thing. But they're still really good. Like, even though they were on like more of the mainstream kind of in terms of back in the day.
For Sailor Moon, though, it's a show about magical girls and just fighting evil, and it's a pretty wholesome show for the most part.
Yeah, I would say so. It's not like overly dark. It's great for all ages. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, for what it is, like, personally, it's not
it's not my cup of tea.
It's not what I'm really into.
Yeah.
But, like, there's just so many people who have, like, recommended this one.
Yeah.
As, like, the show that got them into anime for the first time. So it had to go on our list.
Yeah, I would say that I agree. Like, it probably should be on one of our lists for sure. But in that same breath, we move into, like, the next one, which is Dragon Ball, the original series, not Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball. So, I don't know if you wanted to start on this one. It looks like you got something to say about this.
It's so perverted at times. It's so good.
But it's so funny, and it's
really funny.
And I love Dragon Ball, the original series, compared to Z, just because it's a lot more of a balanced show in terms of, like, the characters in the story. It's not all just about Goku. I mean, the main character is still Goku, but you still see these other characters like Krillin's useful, Yamcha is useful to a point even, Piccolo is amazing because he's evil, and then he becomes
King Piccolo.
Yeah, he's King Piccolo. So
like before he becomes an egg and then becomes Piccolo.
Yeah, so
you have Tien when he's just a badass.
Yeah, Tien's badass. Like
Master Roshi's awesome.
Amazing. You have the Ox King.
Yeah.
You have Bulma. Chi-Chi's really cool, actually, in Dragon Ball, the classic series.
You have
Grandpa Gohan, yeah.
Yep, you have the Red Ribbon Army.
The Red Ribbon Army.
You have, what was
the
his
androids.
name?
The androids in these are awesome.
You have General Tao's?
Yeah, General Tao.
Tao. Yeah. That's what I was trying to remember the name.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really cool. Like, it's a much more balanced kind of Dragon Ball before... And you still have, like, a lot of the power pole. The power pole is completely forgotten in Z.
Oh, you have where Goku has to use Flying Nimbus to fly.
Yes.
Because they did not introduce where everybody can just fly.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have all the tournaments.
Yeah, and power levels aren't a thing, which is great, because power levels are stupid, if you ask me.
There's so many world martial arts tournaments that are
all
so
the world
good.
martial arts tournaments are great. You have Krillin dying, and then they have to bring back Krillin. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, they introduced the Dragon Balls.
They introduced the Dragon Balls for the first time.
They introduced the Dragon Radar too, right? Does Bulma create that in this one?
Yeah, Bulma has the Dragon Radar.
I couldn't remember. It's been a very long time.
Bulma has the Dragon Radar. It's just a much better balanced show in terms of just like the story, I think. It's a much more balanced story as opposed to...
Right, you don't get into, like, a competition with the power levels like you do in Dragon Ball Z, where it just becomes all about, like, pushing to the next level, and then to the level after that, and it just kind of snowballs. Yeah. Which Dragon Ball Z, I would say, is an excellent choice as well.
I love Z. I'm not bad, and this is nothing against Z. I love Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z! It's great. I love it. Like, there's nothing wrong with Dragon Ball Z. It's just that if you're looking for a much better storyline and a lot less, like, it's just Goku and Vegeta basically fighting over who's the strongest, I would recommend Dragon Ball. And I think really just in terms of just, like, getting started, I would say watch Dragon Ball before Dragon Ball Z. Just, even though, like, obviously it comes before.
Right.
I just think that I think it's a really good show. I think.
Oh no, it's excellent because you get fighting, you get comedy in it. Yeah. Like Dragon Ball Z just takes itself very seriously most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's. I think it's just a much more balanced story that anybody I think would really like. It is a little perverted because it did come out in the early 90s, maybe
like late 80s in Japan,
early 90s in the US. So it's a little bit more perverted. I mean, it's not something that you'd want, like, kids under 10 to watch.
I would say maybe under 13 to watch.
Under 13. But it's a good, I mean, I like it. It's a good show.
It's excellent.
Yeah, so, yeah, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, I would say, yeah, good.
I think you could probably lump those two together to a certain degree.
You could lump them together, for sure. Anyway, what else you got there, Jared?
I have Gurren Lagann.
Okay, so Gurren Lagann, I've only watched, like, maybe I haven't watched, like, the whole series. I know that. So
it was the biggest early hit for Studio Trigger, which they do some weird shows.
Yeah, Studio Trigger.
And Gurren Lagann is definitely a little out there.
Yeah. It really is.
I really wanted to put a mecha on this list.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something that was a little bit more than just like a standard mecha, like Gundam.
So Taylor, my fiance, she was asking me about this one. And I was like, because I was even having a problem with trying to even like describe what this show was. And then I thought about it. I'm like, just imagine Mad Max, basically. It's sort of Mad Maxy-ish. Which is like, it takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, kind of, in a desert. They're all in the desert. And they basically just have, big mechas that they can fight with, essentially. And it's, there's a lot of really good, like the characters themselves are pretty good. I like the characters. I mean, if you want the full synopsis, it's, Simon and Kamina were born and raised in a deep underground village hidden from the fabled surface. Kamina is a free-spirited loose cannon bent on making a name for himself, while Simon is a timid young boy with no real aspirations. One day, while excavating the earth, Simon stumbles upon a mysterious object that turns out to be the ignition key of an ancient artifact of war, which the duo dubs Lagan. Using their new weapon, Simon and Kamina fend off a surprise attack from the surface with the help of Yoko Littner, a hot-blooded redheaded wielding a massive gun who wanders the world above. In the aftermath of the battle, the sky is now in plain view, prompting Simon and Kamina to set off on a journey alongside Yoko to explore the wastelands of the surface. Soon they join the fight against the Beastmen, humanoid creatures that terrorize the remnants of humanity and powerful robots called gunmen. Although they face some challenges and setbacks, the trio bravely fights with these new enemies alongside other survivors to reclaim the surface, while slowly unraveling a galaxy-sized mystery. So it's a great show. I mean, it's really good. I honestly remember, it's been a while since I've watched it, but I do remember like the animation being really good. Mm-hmm. The characters are great, if you ask me. I really like the characters. Even though, like I said, I don't think I finished the series. I think it's really good.
It has I don't want to do like any spoilers on this podcast, in case it's somebody like who's listening to get a recommendation, but it gets a kind of trippy and has a weird ending. Yeah. And kind of the reason I put this on my list is I took a poll from some friends who like aren't massive, like hardcore anime fans.
Yeah.
And this was always a show, like, they, like,
yeah,
can contribute to, like, one of the first animes that they watched that they really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a very solid anime through and through, I think. Like, the characters themselves are very likable, I think. There's nobody that's, like, I don't know, at least from my opinion, it didn't really seem like there was really, like, I mean, there's main characters, but there isn't, like, a focus so much on...
There's a pretty big focus.
Is there?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some sad moments in it as well, which makes it excellent.
Yeah.
Gives the show some depth, and like I said, it has a very weird ending.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to, like, get introduced to anime in a whole, because anime is weird.
Yeah, anime is weird.
But in a good way.
Yeah, but it's a good show. I'd say check it out.
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I recommend
the art
it.
style is really unique, too,
Yeah,
compared to a lot of shows on this list.
It is. It really is. So the next one that I have on my list is Cowboy Bebop. Oh my god. I love Cowboy Bebop. So this is your classic, just 90s, I guess 80s, 90s anime.
90s.
Yeah, 90s anime. It's if you want good soundtracks, oh my god.
This is up
Cowboy
there.
Bebop, you need to have people watch it. Like, whoever's, like, big into, like, jazzy kind of music, this soundtrack will blow you away. I love Cowboy Bebop's music. It's so good. The opening is just so good. It's just so good.
It's excellent.
It's really good. So you'll be enticed by just the opening, I think. The premise is space bounty hunters.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's sci-fi meets western. It's really good. The characters are amazing. I can't really, like, say enough about this show.
You really can't overhype this show enough.
No.
Because it is that good.
It is.
Something we failed to mention at the beginning of this with our criteria for our list.
Oh yeah.
Is we picked shows that have complete endings. There's nothing open-ended.
They've been finished, and they aren't, like, continuing on. So, for those of you that are like, well, where's My Hero Academia? Where's Attack on Titan? Where's blah, blah, blah? It's Sword Art Online. They're not done.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be recommended. Also, Sword Art Online's trash. Fight me. Don't care.
Believe me, I would have loved to put, like, My Hero Academia or, like, a million other shows on this list that I think are excellent starters, but they just don't have an ending. But back to Bebop, like, what a wonderful show.
So good.
And I do implore you, like, I really don't care about the argument of subs versus dubs. Watch what you want to watch. This is the one show where I can be like, watch the dub.
Yeah, it is. Watch the dub. Absolutely watch the dub. Like, it's just, I don't even think it's everywhere. You can watch the dub literally everywhere. It's on Hulu. Is it on Netflix? I don't know.
No, Funimation owns the rights to it now. So it's on Funimation. It should just be on Funimation and Hulu.
Okay, so I think with Hulu, just, like, get a Hulu account. You don't even need to get, like, the ad-free one. Just pay your $6 or whatever it is to get Hulu, and just watch it with ads. It's great. Like, you'll love Cowboy Bebop.
And it's only 20-some episodes.
Yep.
It's really easy to get into, and the ending is just
fantastic.
Incredible.
Fantastic.
Very excellent show. Good. Any list you ever look at, this is always, like,
it's always going to be on there. It's
always on there, if not, like, the number one if people are actually ranking.
It's funny because I was going through lists online, and somebody had made a list for, like, overhyped TV shows, and they said that Cowboy Bebop was overhyped. I'm like, you're insane. There's no way that.
It's one of the few shows I think can't be overhyped. You
can't overhype the show. There's no such thing. It's great. The characters are all good. They've got strong male leads. They've got strong female leads. It's well balanced.
It's a great villain.
Yeah, it has great villain in it. The soundtrack, like I said already, will have you from the moment that you start watching it.
It has a corgi. What more do you want?
Yeah. It's so good.
Next on our list is actually from the same creator as Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo.
Oh, God.
Another incredible soundtrack.
So good. Oh, my God.
This show is an adventure with, like, a more, like, traditional samurai.
Yep.
A younger girl who's looking for...
she's looking for the samurai that smells of sunflowers.
Yes.
Which actually... Well, okay, no, I won't spell it. I won't spoil who that is, but it's really good.
And then we get the off-hinged samurai Mugen.
Yeah, Mugen, who's played by Tom, the guy that voices Tom in the dub.
Or on Toonami.
On Toonami.
And he voices... Steve Bloom.
Yeah, Steve Bloom.
He voices...
What's his name from Cowboy Bebop?
I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, I'm blanking.
So hard at the moment.
But anyway, so the cast is great, is what we're trying to say. The soundtrack, again.
The soundtrack is
so
incredible.
good.
So this takes place in, what would that be, like 1800s Japan, I would say? Because there's gunpowder in this,
probably,
right?
Yeah, I think.
And there's
it's
actual guns. Oh, they have like some, I
think it's...
There's some white people in it.
Yeah, I think it's early 1800s.
I would say somewhere in the 1800s Japan.
Yeah.
But they put a, like, Japanese hip-hop soundtrack with this show. And it works so well.
Like, it's one of those weird things that you would think, like, I know just from the sounds of it, doesn't sound like it would be very good, but believe me, it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's...
Again, another show that you can't really overhype. Like, the show...
I don't think you can either, because it's excellent. Like, you get some really cool fight scenes.
Yep.
You get awesome character moments in it.
Yep.
You get a rap battle.
Yep, you do get a rap battle.
Hilarious.
You get Mogan trying to learn how to read.
Yes.
That's just hilarious in itself. It's just such a good show. There's nothing that I could really say that is really wrong with the show, other than it's too short.
Oh, I would love more. It's a great adventure show, too.
Yeah. You just love the characters so much.
Going from area to area in Japan.
Yep.
And it's really cool. Like, for me personally, like, this and Bebop are, like, constantly compared because obviously you have the same creator.
Yep.
And this one I prefer over Bebop.
I don't know. I go back and forth on this one. I don't know which one I would prefer more. Like, if you ask me one day, I'll probably say Samurai Champloo. But then if you ask me another day, I'll say Cowboy Bebop. And I think it's really, for me, it's really dependent on, like, what kind of show that I'm looking for, I guess, at the time. Like, I don't know. Because they're kind of, while they're very similar, they're kind of different enough where you could say, like, I don't know. It's tough. I don't know. I don't think I could put one above the other. I'd say they're probably about even, if you ask me.
It's very close to the point where it's extremely hard to make a call on which one you prefer over the other. And it's very slight that I prefer Champloo, and I really think it's because I just like slightly more like the hip hop soundtrack.
Right. Whereas I really enjoy the jazzy kind of feel to Bebop as well. But again, before we move on, I would say that both Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop, they are a little bit more suggestive in terms of just like the content.
Oh, I would say
it's a little violent. I would say maybe recommend
13
for
up.
like 13 up. I would say
12 up, something like that.
Yeah, 12 up. Yeah, I would maybe even 10.
Bebop, I think, could easily be 10. For the most part. It's less suggestive in scenes than Champloo is, I feel like.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I could see that.
But
they're both good, but I would say, for the most part, it's recommended. You could recommend for most ages.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then we'll get back to our list here after a short ad read.
Woohoo!
Hey everybody, Jared here with today's sponsor of our podcast, Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you.
so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one convenient place. And in fact, it's the only hosting website that we use here at Talk Anime. We love Anchor. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And now, back to the show.
All right, and we are back. So,
all right. So I think
our next show would be
let me see here. Let me think which one I want to talk about first here.
There's so many good choices.
I know, there's so many good choices.
It was so hard to narrow these lists down to just 5 shows apiece.
Which one I want to talk about first. If I want to talk about this one or not. I'm thinking, let's go ahead and talk about Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon is a really good show. Again, it's a show about bounty hunters, once again, I believe.
If I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've watched this one. Since I watched it. Isn't it, like, extremely violent?
It's, again, a very extremely violent show, but it's just so good. But again, it's another one of those short one-offs that I think it's only like 12 episodes, I think. And it's really good. The characters are very enjoyable. It's got a very strong female lead.
Yeah, I mean, your main character is a female. What is it? Revy?
Yeah, Revy. Yeah, she's really cool. Like, it's just a very good show. I don't want to, the thing is like, if I start talking about it, I'm going to dispel a lot of spoilers, so I don't want to get into it too much. I just recommend it. It's very suggestive, very violent. Therefore, I would say probably at least children, or recommend.
Revy's got some big boobs, if I remember correctly.
Yep, she does. I would say probably 16 and up. Jared, do you have the synopsis for that one?
I do, actually. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. That's what I thought would probably be like the best way to describe the show. This one
in particular, I would say. So, with this one, it says, within Thailand is Roanpur, a depraved, crime-ridden city where not even the authorities or churches are untouched by the claws of corruption. A haven for convicts and degenerates alike, the city is notorious for being the center of illegal activities and operations, often fueled by local crime syndicates. Enter Rokuro Okajima, an average Japanese businessman who has been living a dull and monotonous life. When he finally gets his chance for a change of pace with a delivery trip to Southeast Asia, his business trip swiftly goes downhill as Rokuro is captured by a mercenary group operating in Roanpur called Black Lagoon. The group plans to use him as a bargaining chip in negotiations which ultimately fail. Now abandoned and betrayed by his former employer, Rokuro decides to join Black Lagoon in order to survive. He must quickly adapt to his new environment and prepare himself for bloodshed and tribulation to come. A non-stop, high-octane thriller, Black Lagoon delves into depths of human morality and virtue. Witness Rokuro struggling to keep his values and philosophies intact as he slowly transforms from businessman into ruthless mercenary. So, the synopsis makes it sound like it's more centered around Rokuro in terms of plot development, but I would say that Revy plays just as much of a she drives the plot just as much, yeah. I would say.
I mean, she's on the art for the whole show, yeah. Too. Like, she's like the face of the show.
Revy is amazing. She's a great female character. I love Revy.
A complete badass.
And she's totally badass. She's the head of Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's just, they do so many. There's so many good episodes from it. Like, they go there. To just give one away, like they're contracted to go look around in this sunken Nazi submarine, and just to go try and find some treasure. And everything that just kind of, that entire episode, the way that it goes is just, it's so good. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but that's just one example of an episode from Black Lagoon. It's really good. really, it is, again, a very suggestive show. I would say probably 16 and up would be...
Oh, yeah, definitely 16 and up for this one. Kind of like Hellsing Ultimate.
Yeah, very much.
Not as violent.
Not nearly as violent, but certainly is very a violent show. But it is very good. Highly recommend it. Take a look. What else we got, Jared?
Well, we have one of my favorite shows of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, as we were going through this list, a lot of these shows are like shows we really enjoy. This show, Toradora, is adorable.
Okay. Tell me about it, Jared, because I don't think I've seen this one.
No, so essentially, you have your main character, and he has his single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So his dad walked out on them. He was like
Dad went for a pack of smokes and never came back.
Essentially, yeah. And the thing with the main character is he has a face that makes him just look like a delinquent.
Yeah.
But he's like a super nice guy.
Okay.
And then you have Taiga, which is probably the top tsundere character of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
For the listeners at home, Jared, what is a tsundere?
Tsundere is a girl that acts kind of like mean towards somebody, but then is like has like a sweet side at the same time.
So she's kind of like the boy that beats up on you. It just means that he likes you.
That she likes you.
Okay.
And then he has a best friend, and then there's the girl that the main character has a crush on as well, which is Taiga's best friend.
Okay.
And essentially what it is it's the main character, which his name is escaping me at the moment, even though I've seen this show like 5 or 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
He and Taiga are planning, because she has a crush on his best friend, and he has a crush on her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So they're working together to help each other out, essentially.
Yeah.
Throughout the show. And it turns into this really cute love story with there's really good comedy moments to it. It's a pretty show, so it's a little older as well, 2006.
Yeah. So
you have some distinct differences in the animation to like newer shows you get these days.
Yeah.
But it's still an excellent show. About discovering feelings and who you really do like and sort of things. I don't want to give too many spoilers with this one.
Yeah.
But like obviously you have 2 people who are planning like to get with each other's best friends and then kind of discover that they have feelings for each other, and it works throughout that. The reason I really wanted to put this show on the list is there's nothing else on our list that comes even close to this. Like, I felt like every new beginner that's coming to anime should have a show that's like a slice of life, which is just kind of your everyday different interactions in a show. And then have like, I wanted to put something on the list that was at least some sort of like a romantic show or a love story to some degree. And this just has an excellent story, excellent characters, and I would just absolutely highly recommend to it. It hits you in the feels at scenes as well.
Yeah.
It's a very good show. And one of my personal favorites. It's on my personal top 10, which I'm sure we'll get to our personal top 10 favorite shows of all time at some point.
We'll get to those eventually.
I know this show is on there for me.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. The next one I have on my list, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So this one's really good.
So this is like the quintessentially rated best anime of all time.
Yes.
Pretty much anywhere you go and look at a list, this is, unless they're trying to be controversial for whatever reason, this is your best show of all time.
It's very good. What are the main characters' names again? I can't remember them. Alphonse and like I said, the main characters. Sorry, guys.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm blanking on this.
All the.
Oh God. Give me one second. I know it's the Elric brothers. Edward.
Yeah, the Elric brothers. Yeah, it's
Alphonse and
Edward.
Edward.
Okay, so the premise of this show is basically just black magic.
It's alchemy.
It's alchemy, yeah. So it takes place in a fantasy world, basically, where...
I wouldn't even say, like, really a fantasy world, really. It's very similar to, like, near, say, World War I, World War II Earth.
So it's sort of
but in a different, like... dimension.
Yeah, so it's like basically picture the world as it would be back World War I-ish.
Yeah, so they have trains, they have cars, they have guns, they have they have tanks in this one, artillery.
Yeah, but everything is ran on magic as opposed to like electricity.
Exactly.
So basically, the idea is, so the story starts out with the Ulrich brothers. They lose their mother. So that's...
Right, she dies of a sickness, and Dad was never there for them.
Dad was never there. So what happens is, and like, I know this sounds kind of spoilery, but it's really not. It's like the first 10 minutes of the show. Like, so what happens is the brothers try to bring their mother back using alchemy. And so one of the rules of alchemy is you can't use it to bring people back to life.
Right. Because there's no, like, value on a soul.
Right, exactly. So everything in alchemy, there has to be some sort of value. The soul is valueless, so therefore you can't really be brought back.
Oh, I forget the line what it is. Like, there has to be an equal balance to what you give.
It's basically what you give, you have to get you have to give the exact. It's basically I forget how they word it exactly, but the point is that they try to bring their mother back. It doesn't work, and the experiment goes horribly wrong. Where Alphonse loses his...
So Alphonse, he loses his entire body.
Yes, and ends up in a suit of armor.
Yeah, so what happens is they have this alchemist circle that they created.
Yep.
And then it's equal exchange.
Yeah, the law of equal exchange. Yes. That's what it is. And so Alphonse loses his entire body... Who's the younger brother? He loses his entire body. His brother then is able to encase him, though, in a suit of armor by giving up his left arm.
Yeah, so Edward loses his... I'm trying to remember what it was. He loses one of his limbs trying to bring the mother back, and then he loses another limb putting Alphonse in the suit of armor, or his soul in the suit of armor.
Yeah, I think it's the leg, one of his legs that he loses.
Right.
Too.
So Edward loses an arm and loses a leg. Alphonse loses his entire body.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beginning premise of the show. They do a flashback to that. I don't remember if it's in the beginning of the show they do that.
Oh, it's horrifying. They go back to it. I know
they go back to it
at some
point. Or multiple times.
Horrifying.
It's awful.
It's absolutely horrifying because they end up creating like this like disgusting mess, essentially, that is like...
That's alive but doesn't have a soul and bears a slight resemblance to the mother, and it's just...
Yeah, it's
awful.
Horrible. It's awful. And so basically the whole premise is them going around the world trying to reverse the alchemy that they did, so that way Alphonse can get his body back.
Sort of, and what they're doing with that is they're trying to find this fabled Philosopher's Stone, which is said to have the power to essentially create life and stuff. So what they're trying to do is get Alphonse's body back, Edward's limbs back, and just kind of reverse what they did to themselves.
Yeah. And
it kind of takes place at that. There's lots of interesting elements in this show. You have lots of different deception, mass murder plots.
And just a lot of like dark magic plots. Like the villains are really good.
Yeah. Without giving too many spoilers away, there's a bunch of different created life forms from Philosopher's Stones that one of the main villains, which I don't want to give that away.
No, I don't want to give that away.
But you have that where he's created these homunculus who have different powers, and those are kind of the first early villains you see. And it's
a really good show.
It's a very good show. You have excellent characters. You have Roy Mustang, who masters in a flame alchemy. You have Armstrong, which is this giant-looking German kind of looking man who uses alchemy to create like stone fists, and he's jacked. He's just swollen. He's hilarious. You have Hughes.
Hughes is really good.
He is excellent. He doesn't do any alchemy. He's just like a lieutenant in the military.
Yeah, so it's just a really good show.
Oh, and you have
throughout
Armstrong's sister as well, which is an excellent, like, strong female lead later on in the show.
Yep. Yeah, there's just so many good moments in this show. You just can't go wrong with this show. I would say that you could recommend it to most ages again. It's a little darker at times, but I would say
darker, and there's some definitely like there's some violent moments in it, but it's not like overly graphic.
Yeah, I would say probably about 13.
I would say so, yeah.
It's a great show. It's a good, I think, like kind of coming of age kind of show. Yeah,
definitely coming of age. Definitely going on an adventure with an excellent conclusion to everything.
Yeah, sorry about the coughs, guys. I got like a recovering from cold kind of shit. But
it's one of my favorite shows of all time as well. It's another one where I have friends who aren't overly into anime, and this is one that they like go back and rewatch over and over again because they've really enjoyed the show.
Yeah,
and I've personally recommended this to like countless people. Like, hey, what's one show that you would recommend? This is usually like my go-to.
I would say, I'd say that this is probably the good one to start with. It's really good. Yeah. All right, what's next, Jared?
Well, for my final one, Steins Gate.
Oh yeah, before that was the end of my top 5 list. So,
I really can't say enough about this show.
I've actually never watched this show too.
It's about time travel.
Okay.
It's really excellent.
Okay.
So it starts out a little weird to a certain extent. Like it feels a little jumbled, but it starts to make sense. So it follows your main character, Hyoewon Kyoma.
Okay. Surprised you're able to remember that name, but we can't remember.
Yeah, right. I can't remember Edward, but I can remember that. It's because he repeats it so many times.
Yeah. It's okay, fair enough. Continue.
And that's like a code name he uses. There's an actual. I can't remember the actual name.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's him, and some other people that he has together, just kind of friends. He has like I'm doing air quotes. Sort of a laboratory, and he's like a conspiracy theorist to a certain degree as well. And he accidentally discovers time travel.
Yeah.
With a microwave, a computer, a banana. Like they microwave a banana and they're able to like put it back onto like the bunch of bananas essentially.
Okay.
And he kind of discovers the time travel kind of like with that, and then he also sends like a text message back in time.
Okay. Huh.
And not to get like too spoilery, like the kind of time travel that he uses is he's not actually like creating like a time machine to send all of him back in time. What he essentially has created is one where he can call and send his consciousness back in time.
Huh.
But it creates all these different offshoots of time. Like different timelines.
Okay, so it's sort of like the butterfly effect, sort of.
Yeah, it's more like the butterfly effect than anything. And it gets very emotional in the show. Very disheartening for a lot of it. The middle to end of the show. Like it starts out pretty lighthearted and then it goes in a very dark direction with him trying to get back into a timeline where everything isn't going wrong.
Okay. Huh.
And it's excellent. It's another one I've recommended friends, and they love it. If you're really say you have a friend who really enjoys anything sci-fi,
just
like
this show.
This is like the show.
Okay.
Like, I can't think of a better, like, science fiction-y show to recommend.
Well, I mean, it can't be that bad. They have, like, all kinds of different spin-offs of it, so...
Yeah, there's spin-offs, there's games that have been done with it, and if you look at, like, lists of, like, top anime of all time,
it's on
this is,
all
like,
of them. I know it's
top
on all
5
of them.
anime.
Yeah, I know it's on all of them. I've just never gotten around to watching it. Sounds really good, though.
It's excellent. I used to own it and let somebody borrow it, and now it's gone forever, I think.
Womp womp. Anyway, so now let's get on to our honorable mentions.
Yeah, so
these were anime that there was just something about them that, be it like the ending or there's a character we didn't like about it, that there was just something that we just couldn't bring ourselves to put it on a list of our top 5. And so, I would say to start with mine would be Death Note.
Yeah, so I really wanted to put Death Note on my list, but it was just the way it ended.
So Death Note, for those of you that don't know what this show is about, so they have a movie, a live action one. Don't watch that; that's not good. It's about Light Yanagami. So it centers around Light Yanagami, who's a high school student. That the basic premise is that he's given a book by the god of death. Basically.
Well, a Shinigami, which are gods of death.
Yeah, gods of death. And
he was just kind of bored, so he threw this Death Note down into Earth, and Light happened to pick it up.
Right. So what the Death Note is it's a notebook that if you write a person's name in, their full name, in this book, as well as how you want them to die, and I believe the time that you want them to die as well, they will die. It will come true. Like, the exact way that you want their death to come about will happen. And so, whenever he first gets this book, he is testing it out by killing inmates, basically. So what he does is he systematically goes through. His dad's a policeman, so he has access to all the police databases.
Oh, and Light is like a prodigy.
Yeah, he's also extremely smart.
Extremely smart, extremely cunning.
Yeah.
And like essentially a genius, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, he's a genius. So basically what happens is he starts off by killing just people that are bad, just bad people in general, just like the scum of the earth. But then what ends up happening is he's being too consistent, essentially, with how he kills these people. So they keep getting heart attacks, I believe.
That's the key thing of how like a lot of them would die, because he would just, I believe if like you just write their name in it, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, is that it looks like they just die from a heart attack. And so what ends up happening is just like the body count just gets too high to the point where it just seems like there are way too many people dying coincidentally that are associated with crime.
Right, and then it turns into an investigation with another super cunning and genius like young prodigy named L.
L, yeah. We don't know his full name.
He's just known as
just
L.
L. He doesn't give anybody his full name because he has a theory behind why people keep dying and how they keep dying. So the story continue.
Oh, I was gonna say it kind of just turns into like a cat and mouse game between L and Light.
Yep. And then
L isn't sure if it's Light, but he has an idea.
Yeah.
But then
he can't prove
Light knows he has an idea it's him. So it's kind of them playing off each other.
Yep. Until finally, well, actually, I won't tell you how.
Yeah, how you don't want to know how it ultimately ends, but you get about 2/3 of the way through the season, and that comes to conclusion, and then you have another continuation at the other end of it.
Yeah. With
the Death Note, which kind of it goes downhill there. It really does. That's the whole reason it didn't really make the top list.
Yeah, I would say
but
so.
Just the dynamic between Light and L for what is it like? 2/3 of the show is incredible.
It's very good. It's so good, and it's a very good show up until a certain point, and then it just kind of drops off, and that's why I don't put it in my honorable mentions. The ending itself ends up to be pretty decent. It's just there's a lot of like unnecessary stuff getting to the ending,
right?
Basically. It's very dark again, so probably like 16 and up, maybe 15.
I feel like you go 13 and up with this one. There's nothing graphic, really.
No, I guess not. It's just kind of dark, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a dark show.
Yeah, it's just a dark show. But I would say check it out. Death Note, recommend it. It's on Netflix and Hulu and Crunchyroll.
Yeah, it's like everywhere.
It's everywhere, so it's pretty good. Check it out. Yeah.
What
do you got, Jared?
Well, one is, so I wanted to put mostly shows in our top list that we had completely finished or are completely finished.
Yep.
But this one is so good
that it needs to be.
It has to be mentioned.
That's fair.
And I know it's a meme.
Yep. Well, it's many memes. There are many memes.
But
this one is Dio!
Jesus Christ, that was loud. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it is, for lack of better words, truly a bizarre adventure.
Just absolute insanity.
This show is bonkers. It just takes place between the JoJo family.
The Joestars.
The Joestars and Dio. And it just goes on throughout generations of their family, of them fighting each other.
Yep.
And it's a fighting show.
Yes.
And
it's very much a shonen. The shonen jump, but it's so
bonkers. The characters
good.
are all massively jacked.
Yep.
Like,
just picture
it's
hilarious. Every trope in anime that you could ever imagine. Just amplify that times 10.
Yeah.
And then you've got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I'm only partially into the 3rd season right now, where they're just getting to Egypt and that.
Yeah.
And it is, like...
It's just so good.
It's so good. Like,
so good.
A couple weeks ago, I was at a friend's house, and we were just watching it. And my girlfriend was just sitting there. She was working on stuff for her job. And she is not an anime fan, at all. Like, she is not into anything. And she was even like, wow, this is really enjoyable. I'm getting into this.
It's just one of those shows that, like, you can just kind of put on. You don't necessarily need to, like, watch it, like, fully to really understand what's going on.
No, you can jump in at any point in the main, like, at the beginning of each season, for the most part. You can really jump in. Yeah. And it is just, it's nonstop.
Yeah, it's just...
Like, there's always something going on driving the plot. There's no filler, at all.
Nope, no filler. But it's just so good, and there's just so many funny, quotable moments.
Like, oh my god!
Holy shit!
It's so good.
You thought it was me. It would be Joseph, but it was me, Dio!
Or Nani.
Nani?
I know, it's...
Or Mayomo Shinderu.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's just quote, unquote, meme after meme. Just
like, so many...
this show.
It has a very devoted fan base, and you'll get, like, if you run into a JoJo's fan, they are a JoJo's fan. They will tell you it's the best show.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree with them after I started watching it. It is excellent.
It's a great show. Recommended. Literally anybody of all ages. Yeah. It's a great show.
And it's still continuing.
Yep, still ongoing. But I would say you could start it from season 1, episode 1, or you can pick it up like season 3, episode 1.
Yeah, you can pick up pretty much any season where it's like you can see it has like new characters and just kind of go from there.
Just go from there. It's great.
But I highly recommend starting at the beginning because it's a wild ride.
I definitely recommend starting from the very beginning. But anyway, that leads into another show that's from the 90s, Trigun. So I just started rewatching this. Vash is so good. Funny. So it's okay. I don't even know how to like describe this one. It's sort of a old western-y kind of vibe to it. Vash is a bounty hunter with amnesia, basically, and he's wanted. He's got a $60 billion price tag on his head. So there's bounty hunters from everywhere coming and attacking him. And then you end up getting 2 people from an insurance company that are having to like put him on a 24-hour watch because there's so much chaos that ensues whenever he comes into a town that the insurance companies are like, we can't have this happening anymore. Yeah, please get a hold of this man. And just like, but it's so funny though, because Vash has no idea why he's being chased, because he has amnesia, so he can't remember anything. He doesn't even remember that he's like one of the most badass people in his universe. And it's just so funny. It's just so good. It's the opening episode is like Vash sitting in a bar drinking whiskey, and then this group of bandits come by. and start shooting up the entire bar, and they start like just peppering this bar. Like the bar is basically flattened by how much gunfire is going on through this place. It's just so good. And it's just so funny because then they stop firing, and Vash is still just sitting at the bar, unfazed by all of this going on around him. There are people panicking and running out of the bar, and he's just sitting there finishing his whiskey. And then they, oh my gosh, it's just so good. And then he's like, "What's up, guys?" He's just so oblivious to everything. It's so good.
Trigun is excellent.
It's so good. So I'll give you the synopsis. Vash the Stampede is the man with a $60 billion bounty on his head. The reason? He's a merciless villain who lays waste to all those who oppose him and flattens entire cities for fun, garnering him the title, the Humanoid Typhoon. He leaves a trail of death and destruction wherever he goes, and everyone can count themselves dead if they make so much as eye contact, or as so the rumors say, they're dead. In actuality, Vash is a huge softy who claims to have never taken a life and avoids violence at all costs. With his crazy donut obsession, oh yeah, he loves donuts, and buffoonish attitude in tow, Vash traverses the wasteland of the planet Gunsmoke, all the while followed by two insurance agents, Meryl Strife and Millie Thompson, who attempt to minimize his impact on the public, but soon their misadventures evolve into life or death situations as a group of legendary assassins are summoned to bring about suffering to the trio. Vash's agonizing past will be unraveled and his morality and principles pushed to the breaking point. So, like I said, he doesn't remember who he is. He has amnesia. But he's apparently the most deadly person in the entire world. It's so good. It's got a lot of just like... It touches on a lot of like good topics, I guess, in terms of like morality and what have you. But it also is just so funny. Can't say enough about it. I'd give it a watch. I mean, I guess like the biggest reason why it didn't crack the top 5 list for me was just because it doesn't really like, it's not like, it kind of doesn't really stand out. I guess there's nothing really like,
I don't know. I think that depends on who you ask. I have a lot of friends that really love this show.
Yeah.
It's
I guess for me,
an old, like like newer fans to anime within the last like 4 or 5 years, who have like gone back and watched this have really enjoyed it. I guess for me, which is saying a lot for a show that came out in 1998.
Yeah, 1998. I mean, I think that's just me. I think on my end personally, like this was a show that I found later. Like after I'd already been exposed to anime for a while. So I think that's more or less why it didn't crack a top 5 for me. It was because it wasn't one of those ones that's like going back and nostalgically being like, yeah, this is why I started watching this. So I think that's more or less why for me it doesn't crack it. But it could certainly be a top 5 for somebody else for starters.
So another honorable mention from me, try to make this a little quicker. Yeah. Ghost in the Shell, standalone complex. Either season 1 or season 2 of that.
I like both of them, honestly.
So, yeah, they're excellent shows. They really are.
Yeah.
So, Ghost in the Shell was originally a movie in the early to mid-90s.
Yep. And
then later on in the early 2000s, they made a full series about. So, it takes place where, like, you have a physical world and, like, a digital-ish world as well. Because you have people who have different, like, cyborg attachments on them, or people who are, like, completely have their consciousness and everything about them in, like, a robotic body as well. Yeah. Which is one of your main characters, the Major, has that. And it's just them following, like, an ongoing story throughout the series, and it's in like a, what would you say, like a cyberpunk setting? I would say
definitely cyberpunk.
I would say actually, this would be like up there with like all-time cyberpunk
this is definitely
settings.
an anime cyberpunk. film.
Like, you could put this into a setting similar to, like, this, or, what's the movie? Harrison Ford.
Oh my god, what is the name of it? I know which one you're talking about specifically.
And they had the newer one that came out a few years ago.
Crap. I cannot remember it. I know what you're talking about, but I cannot for the life
Give
of
me like 2 seconds here, and I will have this movie. I always blank on the name of it. But it's a great cyberpunk setting show with some really deep moments with it. Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, that's what it was. Okay.
Like, it has a setting very similar to Blade Runner.
Yes.
And it is excellent. So. It's a elite crime fighting division, which is led by the Major, and they have different characters with it, and they're trying to find this villain and trying to understand what a standalone complex is.
Yeah.
This and Steins Gate were kind of the two science fiction-y shows that I was really like competing with each other. And this one like just barely lost out to Steins Gate just because Steins Gate is like very close to a masterpiece of a show. And Ghost in the Shell, I don't feel like it's quite at that level.
No.
But
it's good.
Excellent, and if you want something that is a little bit more sci-fi,
and it's kind of pretty too. It's also
it's a good looking show for the most part.
Yeah.
And you want something that has more like a cyberpunk kind of a setting to it. I would highly recommend this show. You can go back, watch the original movie. I never saw the Hollywood movie of it with Scarlett Johansson.
Wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it.
I mean, the whole premise of it's popular enough where Hollywood picked it up.
Yeah.
So you know absolutely. You have a good setting then.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. Next one I want to talk about is... So this one is an interesting one. This was one where you and I argued about this. So it's Hunter x Hunter. So Hunter x Hunter technically is a show from the early 90s that was completed in 1999. But then they brought it back in 2011, I believe. And so...
I still don't think it has a complete ending, right?
Not... Isn't
the manga on hiatus?
The manga is on hiatus, so it's still technically ongoing, which is why this one didn't make a top 5.
Right.
It was because it's still an ongoing, but for the most part, I would say it's finished. Like they haven't put out anything new in over 2 years now. Like I would say that's a pretty, you can talk about it anyway. So the synopsis is: hunters are specialized in a variety of fields, ranging from treasure hunting to cooking. They have access to otherwise unavailable funds and information that allow them to pursue their dreams and interests. However, being a hunter is a special privilege only attained by taking a deadly exam with an extremely low success rate. Gon Freese, a 12-year-old boy with the hope of finding his missing father, sets out on a quest to take the hunter exam. Along the way, he picks up 3 companions who also aim to take on the dangerous test. The revenge-seeking Kurapika, aspiring Dr. Liario Paladnite, and a mischievous child the same age as Gon, Killua Zoldyck. The Hunter x Hunter is a classic shonen that follows the story of 4 aspiring hunters as they embark on a perilous adventure, fighting for their dreams while defying the odds. So this show is a great coming-of-age show. It's very good. I recommend it for all ages. There is some slightly darker content to it, but it doesn't get so dark that I would say that don't recommend it to younger children. It's a great coming-of-age story. Gon is awesome. I love Gon. Have you seen this show, Jared?
So I have not seen Hunter x Hunter. It has been on my Crunchyroll queue for a while now.
I would love it.
And it's one of those shows that I really want to get into, but it's hard to make time for a lot of the longer shows I really want to watch. Like, I have this on my list. I have Gintama on my list.
Yeah.
And I have... we've recently been talking. I've been thinking about starting Naruto as well, which that's
another honorable mention, but that's
a massive show.
It's huge, especially if you do Shippuden as well. But anyway,
I feel like you would have to complete the story.
You'd have to. But anyway, that's beside the point. Hunter x Hunter, getting back to it, Hunter x Hunter's great. Just to kind of move things along quickly, it's a great show. Love it. Very pretty. Great storylines. The arcs are all great. Love all the characters. Don't think there's a bad one. Recommend it to all ages. Go watch it. Moving on.
So, I had like a renaissance of sorts as an anime fan.
Okay.
I was a kid. I grew up on Toonami.
Okay.
I watched all that. Then I got into like my later teenage years, high school. I didn't really watch any anime at that point.
Yeah.
So I got into like college around 2008, 2009. I started getting back into anime a little bit.
Sure.
And
as one does.
Yes. And that's when I started getting like more into like playing video games online. I met a friend online and he recommended this anime to me, which really is one of the ones that really got me back into it and made me like the super fan that I am today.
Okay.
Eden of the East.
Okay. I can't say I've seen this one.
Not a lot of people have.
Okay. And I don't think I've even seen this one on a lot of lists.
I don't remember if it is or where it's streaming right now. It used to be on Netflix.
Okay.
I don't remember if it still is. I know Funimation used to have the rights to it. Don't know if they still do.
Okay.
It might have been one of the ones that expired. But it's a shorter show. I believe it has like 12 or 13 episodes and then 3 movies. And kind of I'll give you just a rundown of the synopsis of the show. On November 22nd, 2010, Japan was hit by missile strikes, a terrorist act that fortunately did not harm anyone, becoming known as Careless Monday. Quickly forgotten, society goes on about their lives as normal. During her graduation trip to America 3 months later, friendly college student Saki Morimi's life is forever changed when she finds herself saved from unexpected trouble by Akira Takezawa. Takezawa is cheerful but odd in many ways. When first met, he is stark naked and suffers from amnesia.
Okay.
Believing himself to be a terrorist, so he thinks he's a terrorist, which is interesting when she first meets him.
Very odd.
Yes. In addition, he possesses a strange cell phone loaded with 8.2 billion yen in digital cash.
Huh.
Despite Takezawa's suspicious traits, Saki quickly befriends the enigmatic young man. However, unbeknownst to her, this is the beginning of a thrilling death game involving money, cell phones, and the salvation of the world.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a fun show. It's short. It has excellent characters in it. Mm-hmm. And it's all based on like this essentially, I want to say it's this like billionaire who gave out these phones to random people, loaded with money, and just wanted them to better the world somehow. Okay. And so they're all competing against each other to do that to some degree. Okay. And like, not to give too many spoilers, but like Takezawa, the reason he has amnesia is he erased his own memory using the phone. Okay. And it kind of, the story goes on from there. You have to watch the show and all 3 movies to get a clean conclusion to it. But this one holds like a lot of personal nostalgia for me because it's one of the shows that like got me really back into anime. Okay. And I feel like it's one that's not recognized enough for just how good it is.
Okay. Speaking of anime that aren't recognized enough, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh god damn it.
Fuck you. It's an anime. Fight me. It is totally an anime. I will make this argument. We can have this argument on a completely different episode. It is definitely an anime. People discount it and discredit it because it's made in America and not in Japan. But it's definitely an anime.
It's excellent.
It's an excellent show. It follows the story of Aang, who's the last airbender, and he's also the Avatar. So
it's
the Avatar,
hell of a Nickelodeon cartoon.
It's hell of a Nickelodeon anime. All right. Anyway, so the whole idea is that Aang is supposed to be the Avatar, so he's basically the guy that's able to bring balance to the entire world because he can master all 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And so the problem is that he's, I forget, does he have amnesia at the start? I can't remember.
Well, he doesn't know
he
was the Avatar.
Yeah, he doesn't know he was the
Avatar.
Avatar.
Because they're constantly, like, reborn.
And they shield him, and he was shielded also whenever he was with the Airbenders, whenever he was a kid, before the Fire Nation attacked. It's it's just such a good, clean, kid-friendly show that Like, and with so many good characters.
Yeah.
Like, Uncle Iroh is amazing. I love Uncle Iroh. He's like goals.
Best character.
Best character. You know, you have Prince Zuko, who's got an amazing character development arc. I love Prince Zuko. He's awesome. You've got, you know, I'm blanking on the other two characters that fall in.
I can't remember, honestly.
But anyway, it's just such a good show. It's well animated. It is an anime. It absolutely is an anime.
It's very in an anime style.
Yes.
Anime, like, tropes.
Yeah, it's
art style.
It's funny. It's really colorful. It's really good. The characters are all great. The story is amazing. It has an awesome ending.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason this doesn't crack my top 5 is because of how much flack people give this show for it going on Nickelodeon as opposed to, you know, an actual anime studio and then going to, like, you know, yeah. I would say it's an anime. We can have that discussion at another time. But anyway, what else you got, Jared? Or is that all you got?
That's all I've got for mine. I did have a couple ones, but I decided not to throw them on here.
Okay.
And that's all I've got for any honorable mentions from myself, personally.
I think that's basically all I've got. I mean, the other ones that I have on here are Bleach and Soul Eater, which both are excellent.
Both are excellent. Both had suspect endings.
Yeah, they both had suspect endings. Naruto would be another one that, if you wanted me to recommend another very long-running anime show, but also just another good, just for all ages kind of show. Yeah, so check out that list that we just gave you, and we'll be back with more animus.
We will be. That's our top 10 recommendations for anyone who wants to start watching anime.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube.
Yes, we have a YouTube channel and Twitch as well.
Twitch.
Definitely follow that as well for more interesting content from us.
Yes. We'll see you all later.
We'll catch you on the next episode.